My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. A big thank you to DUK for bringing you this podcast. DUK Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the food that I feed, but this goes beyond the food. You know, I've talked about this in the past on this podcast. You know, I only have sponsors on here that I truly believe in the company, believe in the people behind it, believe in the product. DUK is certainly that. And one thing that I want to touch on real quick is the support that these professionals at DUK have given to the sporting dog community. It's incredibly impactful. You know, between supporting clubs and events to youth scholarships, it's really a neat thing, and I think it's something to respect and it's something to appreciate. So thank you to DUK. SitkaGear.com. Go visit www.sitkagear.com. It is by far the best clothing that I have worn. I've said it before, I'll say it again, that it has changed the way that I not only hunt, but train. And I'm about head to toe in it right now. And so I just love this stuff. So www.sitkagear.com. Well, I hope everyone is having a good start to the day. I'm actually doing this a little differently than normal. I'm doing this in the morning, so I'd say good morning. But it is certainly spring. And I'm literally sitting in my kitchen right now, and I'm looking out the window at two gobblers strutting. There's one hen that I see out there, at least just the one that I see, and it's feeling good. I have the training pond is filling up. Let me tell you about that. That is, we've kind of nicknamed it the money pit because it has been such a nightmare to keep that pond at where it should be maintenance-wise. And, you know, one of the challenges that we have up here in the north, you know, I'm very envious of my friends down south because I swear they could take a shovel and just dig a hole and it'll hold water, you know, forever with that soil that they have down there. And that is definitely not the case here. And so, you know, first we dig the pond, we pack it with clay. Well, you know, the clay didn't hold like we wanted it to. Then we bring more clay in. Then we had gophers and a muskrat poke holes in it to the point that I was away. I think I was at a hunt test last year. And Dave, who you guys, if you don't know Dave, Dave is my assistant trainer. He's worked for me for going on 9 years now. So he's been a big part of Riverstone Kennels, big part of my life, my business. But he called me and goes, it looks like there's geysers shooting up out of the field. And those gophers had poked holes in the side of the pond, and they were just shooting up everywhere. We were losing water. We were pumping water in there like crazy. So we took advantage of the weather, kept the pond drained, was able to scrape off, you know, a bunch of that, kind of rebuild that wall. We put big liners down, and I pray to God that this works because I'm about ready to pull my hair out about this pond. But it is filling. It is not full yet, but it is filling. It's about half full. And to me, when we fill our training ponds, it just feels like spring. It feels like training season. So I'm excited about that. You know, there's just something about this new life, this spring season that just kind of, you know, remotivates and re-energizes me. And so it's something that I really enjoy. But it's funny. So the reason that I'm doing this in the morning, like you guys have known, I oftentimes do this late at night as I kind of wrap my days up. But I had a moment today that I woke up, as I'm sure many of you do, you know, that are enthusiastic about your jobs, woke up with just kind of like that moment, you know. And whether it's, you know, oftentimes I do this if I feel like I, you know, forgot to call somebody, or I had like an epiphany with a dog that's like, hey, try this. And today I popped up and I thought, I know what I want to talk about today, which is a cool thing because sometimes I struggle with this of like, oh, what am I going to talk about this week? What am I going to go after? And this topic I think is really interesting. And I had a pretty in-depth conversation with a gentleman yesterday on the phone about this. And it's really neat how, there's a lot of different, perspectives out there. And I specifically want to talk about kind of the approach, that we have, with some of these dogs. But I want to define what we mean when we say this. So let me go back and all of my mentors are significantly older than me. All of my mentors would have gone through what I consider kind of that old school, method. And I would also say that all of my mentors grew up and kind of made their careers on working with dogs that are much different minded and temperamented than I deal with today. So I want to talk about soft dogs. And the reason I want to talk about this is because oftentimes what I find myself telling people when they bring dogs out for training, bring them to the kennel, is that I would categorize your dog as soft. And I think way too often that is at least initially taken as a negative. And it is certainly not that. I believe that one of my jobs as a trainer, as I work with these dogs every day, is to not only be working and training them, but to be continuing to evaluate them so I can look at them and go, okay, what do I need to do, not this step, but maybe 5 steps from now or 10 steps from now to get the most out of this dog. And so I'm always evaluating, I'm always reevaluating, I'm always learning what that dog is telling me. I'm trying to read that dog all the time. Soft dogs are something that we see, I would almost say, you can't say every time, but I would say the absolute majority of the time, the dogs that we're working with, I would categorize as soft. And why do I believe that is? I think I've talked about this before, but I believe very firmly that the dog of today is different than the dog of 20, 30 years ago. I think that the dog's role in our lives has changed. I use the example of my grandfather. My grandfather, who has a huge impact on my life, he's certainly someone I've always looked up to. He had a chocolate lab named Warden, and Warden was an outside dog. He had a kennel area outside, and I remember as a kid, Grandpa telling me, like I was a little kid, but I remember him telling me that I can't go play with Warden because I'm going to screw him up, right? Like he's a hunting dog. And as I talk to clients, they kind of laugh, when I say that because they're like, yeah, I had that too, or my grandfather had that too, or whatever it is. And that was a norm. But that dog was being bred very differently, right? That dog was, we'd always call them 2x4 dogs, right? Where you could take a 2x4, hit him over the head, and it wouldn't phase him. It'd be like, all right, let's go again. A lot of the dogs today, and I would say about every dog I have in the kennel right now, which are not just, my British Labs that I breed. They are, I have both British and American Labs in there. I have, I have short hairs. I have setters. I have wire hairs. I have golden retrievers. I have Boykins. I have water spaniels. Like I have a mix, kind of a hodgepodge up there right now. I can't think of one dog that I wouldn't necessarily categorize as soft. I have a German Shepherd that's just finishing up, some obedience. He's not doing any gun dog work, but I would categorize him as soft too. And when I look at this, again, some people take the soft comment as something that I don't intend. So I want to define what I mean by soft and why I think it benefits today. If you think of these dogs today, they are, I would say, with very few exceptions, family members first and hunting dogs second. I waterfowl hunted 94 days this last season. Just waterfowl hunting. That's not upland. That's not, of course I have, my big game stuff I love to do too. 94 days of waterfowl hunted. My dogs are still family members first and hunting dogs second. And once in a while, we'll get somebody that's kind of got that, I kind of call it little man syndrome, but it's like, this got a puff on my chest and be like, this dog's going to be a hunting dog. But that's also usually the same guy that when Whitney, my wife, talks to them, he'll talk about how he's got these cute little nicknames for the dog, right? It just, we live in a very different world with our dogs again than we once did. So breeders are breeding differently. Breeders are breeding dogs that are going to be that great family member, right? But when I say soft, and when I say a dog is soft, I think way too often it is looked at as the dog maybe doesn't have drive. The dog maybe is weak or a wuss, wants to shy away from things. The dog is maybe not confident. The dog, there's a lot of things that I think is that initial perception when you hear that word. And I would say that people that don't have an approach like, say, myself or a lot of people I know have, if they have that old school approach that they have to force the dog on everything and they have to be heavy-handed and they have to be a real high levels on the collar and they have to do those things, I think maybe those people would mean those things because they don't know how to get it out of those soft dogs. But here's what I mean when I say soft. What I mean when I say soft is there's a willingness to please. You think about a soft dog, right? And we hear this all the time because I would say, the dogs that I am breeding, they are soft. We hear all the time this like, oh my gosh, like if I yell at this young dog, you can see his head goes down, he comes over to my side, and he's nervous, like he knows that I'm mad. That is that dog wanting you to be happy, right? What I mean when I say soft is I have a dog that wants to be a teammate. This is, I think, severely underrated. A dog that wants to be a teammate is a dog that you're going to, for the vast majority of us, will enjoy training. I'll use this example. Brock. For those of you that follow the Riverstone Kennels page, he's been on Eukanuba, he's been on Sitka, he's been on Sport Dog, he's been on Lucky Duck, he's been on Gun Dog Supply, uses them all over the time. Shout out to Gun Dog Supply, great sponsor of this show, www.gundogsupply.com for all of your training or hunting needs. He has been all over the place, and I have not ran him in front of anyone yet. And doesn't matter if we're, grand training with, all of, my pro buddies. It doesn't matter if I have, serious amateurs that are very picky. It doesn't matter if I have, a new person doesn't know what they're looking at. Like, I can't think of a person yet that I haven't ran that dog and people just don't go, holy shit, that dog's got it. Like, that dog has a motor. That dog is special. That dog is like on and on and on. As I talked about, I can't remember which episode it was now because we've gotten so many of them, which is great. But earlier this year, I talked about a blind retrieve that he made that was, I think it was like 26 yards short of a half of a mile. It's 800 plus yards. That's insane. A soft dog did that, right? So, Brock, he has certainly got the motor. There are flames coming out of the dirt as he takes off on a blind, let alone a mark. But when I was handling with him, when I was teaching him handling, and when I was specifically whistle set, if he ever blew off a whistle, all that it took was, hey, I just vocalized. Half the time he would even hit the ground, and he'd just go, oh, shoot, I did something wrong. And he'd kind of do that, like, slow motion look up at me like, what do you want me to do? That's a soft dog. That's a dog that wants to be a teammate. That's a dog that wants to please me. That's a dog I don't have to force. I don't have to light up. I don't have to hammer on. That doesn't mean he's not driven. That doesn't mean he can't be special. That doesn't mean, he's done everything you could ask him to do. That dog is done. And not only has he done it, he has excelled at it. But he's a soft dog. And I think you could go down the line, whether it's Bud, whether it's Strike, whether it's Clyde, whether it's Bracken, whether all my dogs, they're all very similar in this way. But now, what's fun for me is now I get to look at the next generation, and I'm seeing these puppies, and I'm seeing the clients of these puppies. And time and time and time again, I hear the feedback of how fun it is to work with these puppies and how much they're enjoying the training process, the clients I'm talking about now, and how much, I've never had a dog that has done this. I've never had a dog that, I've gotten to this level. I've never had a dog that's clicked with me so well. Because you don't have a dog that cares more about himself, that is a renegade. You have a dog that wants to be a teammate. And we talk all the time. This is actually something that came up in the conversation I referenced from yesterday. But the gentleman I was talking to, he's a professional. He's down in the Illinois area. We don't know each other well, but it was a fun conversation. I was like talking with people that are in the same field as myself, and we got to talking about this. And he had joked and he laughed and he said, it's funny because most everybody would tell you that they have a dog that is a teammate. But that's also the dog that is, dragging you to the line. That's also the dog that is, blowing off your whistles. That's also the dog that, you say, go over and it's going back, or it's fighting you every step of the way. Like, that dog wants to go do it for him or her. Of course, there's some level of being a teammate there, because naturally these dogs want to be with us, right? They want to be a member of our family. They want to have that respect for us, that pecking order, that pack mentality. But there's different levels of this. And so why I felt like this was important to talk about is, there's just so much out there now, right? As far as, there's more British Labs that are being bred. I hope for the right reasons. That is a fear of mine. Naturally are softer dogs because they put a priority on wanting those dogs to be teammates, which I think is fantastic. I think it fits what we're looking for as family members, as hunting companions, as training companions. I think it's a great fit. But I also think that we just have to look at what they are versus what these other dogs are. I think you have more and more serious amateurs. I think you have more and more people that are falling in love with the process. For those of you that follow along, falling in love with the process. I think you have more and more people that are pushing their dogs and having fun doing it, whether that's at hunt tests, whether that's at field trials, whether it's different games that you're playing. There's more and more people getting involved, and I think that's great. But I think that we have to be objective when we look at our dogs. I can tell you Brock is soft, and I don't have any reservation saying that. I'm not ashamed, to say that, because I can show you what he can go do. And he is that dog that's going to make you say, wow. It does not mean a negative thing. But why it is important to understand that from a training standpoint is because he's the dog that I believe in the wrong hands wouldn't have turned out to be who he is today. That is important. But I also think as you go into the puppy purchasing process that this is something to keep in mind. Soft is not a negative thing, at least if the breeders are looking at it the correct way. And I'm gonna hold myself there because I don't want to completely go down a rabbit hole. But soft, it is not something to shy away from. It's not something to be nervous about. It's actually something to embrace, and I think something that you would enjoy. But I think we have to define it the right way. And hopefully, that's what I've helped to do here. So, Thank you to Lucky Duck. If you guys have not, excuse me, if you've not checked out the new Lucky Duck kennel, not only the new Lucky Duck kennel, the new large Lucky Duck kennel. So now you have 2 size options. Go check them out, www.luckyduck.com, 5-star crash test rated. And the large one is the only crate that size that is 5-star crash test rated. So great job by Lucky Duck to continue to improve the safety of our pets while we're traveling. I love that. That is awesome. So thank you guys so much. Again, if you guys have any feedback, any questions, any topics you guys want to listen to, please send that over. Go to Riverstone Kennels Instagram page. Send us a message. Would love to hear from you guys. Thank you for spending today with me, and go have an awesome week. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.